Okay. So I think where I was is Transformation Church. So all the sermons that I listened to, especially in Foley, all the times that I was not sleeping, and I wasn't able to read. I was listening to sermons. I would ride in the truck with Tammy sometimes, and I would either she would listen to them with me, or I would have it on beats. I just stopped. Like I learned in Pensacola to stop letting scrolling and empty conversations and all these things to just block them out, to only feed my soul and my mind with Christ-centered things, because he taught me very early on that he had me. And so I decided to dedicate everything to having the best understanding that I could of following Christ and living for Christ and learning his word for myself, so that he could speak to me and convict me. And so I listened a lot to Stephen Furtick from Elevation Church, and I know a lot of people just they disregard him because it's a mega church, and I think that's a perfect example of why I looked into things for myself. I got in the word for myself. I started spending a lot of time in prayer. Even when I didn't know what to say, I would just start out thanking God for the things he had already done and asking him to direct me, like, teach me what you want to teach me, show me what you want to show me, like I'm your vessel. And so anyways, I had it was recalled in my memory once God had instructed me Tulsa. It was recalled in my memory that Michael Todd I had seen in the queue a sermon at the time in Foley. I skipped past it, but I did go back and listen to it. I remembered it was from 7 years ago. It was a sermon called Marked that he came to Elevation Church in North Carolina, I think, and spoke on, and it really resonated with me. But that was the extent of anything that I knew at all about Transformation Church. So when I felt a peace about it, when the Google ad came up and whatever, and I got to the website, I just started applying for everything that I could find to apply for, because the only instruction, just like camping in Spanish Fort, was just be there. And so I finished my 3 days at the hotel. By that time, I had met Acacia's mom, Angela. Her and I had instantly clicked. She is hilarious and God-fearing. She is a funny woman. And so she and I were just, all the chances we had, we were going to meetings together. We were hanging out in the backyard talking. I hadn't really told her a lot about Tulsa. I wasn't really talking about it out loud much. I had called and asked for some help to get into if it worked out for this facility over there, like a kind of like an Oxford house, but as the way they described it, it was like a step up, which I didn't care where I went as long as God placed me there. And that wasn't going to work out. And I know if God calls you to it, then God will give you everything you need to accomplish it. So anyway, so I went when the 3 days were up. Acacia picked me up and took me to her mom Angela's house, and Angela had told me I could sleep. She worked nights, so I could sleep in her bedroom. But Cooper is always just, he doesn't know he's little. He has Napoleon complex, and there was a pit in there. And in the time that I've had him, he has had me in more pit altercations than I care to even remember. So I had a tent in her backyard so that me and Cooper could be out there without causing any trouble and being out of the way. She would come out when she would get off work in the morning, and she would sit with me for some time, and And so I had told Mick about Tulsa. I had told my aunt and uncle that I felt like God told me Tulsa. And it made no sense. I didn't know why, but neither did camping in Spanish Fort. But that's what he told me. And I told him a long time ago if he opened the doors, I would walk through them. And so I'm in her backyard, and I get this email from Transformation Church about serve leader, and you could pick there were three different dates. And so I click on it, and I'm just like, God, direct me, let me know. I don't want to misstep. So, and the first date was June 29th, and this was June 20th, and I had no money. I might have had $5 cash, so I didn't even have gas money to try and talk vacation her friend into that road trip I was talking about. So I didn't know. So I just I'm holding my phone, and I just start talking to God, and I'm like, Proverbs talks about not making deals that you can't deliver on. So I didn't want to commit to something, and my flesh told me that wasn't possible. How are you going to do that? That's not dependable. But in praying, God said, commit to June 29th. I am the way maker. So I felt like he said, I said, it's 9 days. And I felt like he said 9 minutes can change everything in my hands. So I committed to June 29th. I didn't really talk a whole lot about it. I had said something on the way to one of the meetings or something. Angela had mentioned something to do with later on down the road, and I said, well, I won't be here then, I'll be in Tulsa. And she's like, what do you mean? And I said, well, God had me commit to June 29th, so I won't. And she never really asked any more questions, not really. And then it might have been a day, 2 days, I'm not sure. But anyways, sometime in that week span, because the 29th was a Sunday, so sometime in that week before that, Angela messages me. I'm in the backyard, and she had gotten off work. She was in her room with the lights off and all the things, and she messages me and goes, what are you doing in Tulsa? And I said, well, I don't know yet. The details of it are a serve leader orientation at Transformation Church in Tulsa, Oklahoma. I said, I feel like that's just the details. I don't know yet. And so she goes, okay, well, is it something I can go to? So she just goes ahead and comes out the back door. And as I'm texting her back, she goes, I was in there. I'm asking you all those questions because I was just in there in the bed, and God was like, you're taking her to Tulsa, you're to go with her. So I've already requested off and asked somebody to cover my shift. So I start crying. I start tearing up. She starts crying. And then so we're like, okay, well, that's that. So we're going to Tulsa, And so I'm like, I don't know how we're going to accomplish it, but I do know that God is the leader of this, because I would not ever, anybody who knows me, I don't do tornadoes. Like, if there's a tornado coming, I'm in the shelter the day before. Like, I do not do tornadoes. So I'm like, she goes, well, let's post on Facebook and see if we can get any people to contribute towards it. And she's like, I get paid that Thursday before. And so she's like, we'll see what we can come up with. And she said, and if not, and I said, there is no if not, because God spoke to both of us separately. God confirmed it with me, and then he confirmed to you without speaking to me, sight unseen, that you were to go with me. And so God wouldn't do that and not provide a way. So there ends up being, I think it was about $350 combined from people. There was people who were able to send $10 and $5 and like $100. And she, the car that she had was is a Charger. Anyways, it takes a lot of gas. And so So right off the rip, it was like $120 for them to come to Tulsa and take me back. And I came here. I didn't have food. The rotisserie chickens I keep talking about, they were on sale at the Walmart the Saturday I got here, and we were so hungry that we bought 4 of them. They left with 1, and I had 3, so that's what I was eating. I went to church. I went to the serve leader thing. I went to dinner Sunday night. I went back to church on Wednesday. I'm still, I did it, I think it was 2 days ago. I hadn't had anything to eat, and I did post online and say, hey, I had $200 and something left, like, if anyone else can contribute. If not, just pray for me, because like sometimes just the flesh part of me wants to be like, I need more details, but I know in my heart that God has me here, and that God has done nothing but provide. And I have gone and filled out applications after applications after applications after applications. I've talked to people at church. Do you need something painted? Do you have a job? Can I come clean your house? Do you need your car cleaned? Like I told them the other day, y'all can sub me. I'll clean breakfast for you in quiet. Like just slip me $30. I'll clean the whole breakfast area. Like I'm willing to do anything. But I guess I'm supposed to be just doing what I'm doing. I feel like I haven't made it all the way through the Bible. I feel like I'm in it, and I'm in it, and I'm in it, but I haven't been through it, and that's where my passion is. And so I didn't have anything to eat a couple days ago, and so I did post and ask about if anyone else could help. And after that, I just took it to prayer. I took it where I take everything. I just took it to God. This lady that I met the first day, the Sunday morning, the first Sunday I was here, the 29th, she messaged me and she said, do you know anybody that'll buy food stamps? $150 for 75. And I'm like, I just got here. Like, I got like $2, you know what I'm saying? I could buy like $2 worth, and so I had been giving her cigarettes, and so I had like 4 cigarettes left, and I'm really trying to quit, but I was down to 4, and she messages me and she goes, where you at? Come downstairs. So I open the box and I got 4 cigarettes left, and so I get 2 out because I've been inviting her to church, and she's going through it, but she's I think she's maybe mildly impacted with drugs. Maybe. I don't want to be judgmental, but it takes one to know one, and I just been talking to her about what God did for me and my years of addiction, and how I've just been talking to her and spending time with her, and she's by herself a lot. So I decided to go down there and take 2 cigarettes. I'm going to talk to her. I'm going to invite her to church. I'm going to, pray for her, find out what's going on. Wait, I don't have money, but what, I can be your friend. You can ride to church with me. We can, whatever, So I get down there and I go to hand her a cigarette, and she goes, I didn't call you down here for that. And I said, well, what'd you call me down here for? And she said, I don't know. I just felt like I need to make sure that you ate. She said, I can only spend like $10, but go across the street to QT, and you can get a sandwich and a drink, And I was like, that is so sweet. I was like, I haven't eaten. I said I wasn't super stressing about it, and I just was praying about it. And she goes, well, until God helps you, I'm going to. So I'm like, he just did, So I go over there, talk to her, and we separate. Whatever. She goes back to her room. I go back to my room. So that was early in the day. Then later in the day, I'm talking to someone, and I'm telling them about the sandwich, right? I'm really just bragging on Jesus because I still had a little bit of a sandwich in there. So it wasn't like I'm hungry. It wasn't any sob story. I'm very much against that because I feel like God will make a way and he'll put it on people's hearts. But I do feel very passionate about, we are the church. And we are not called to hoard everything. And whether you have a lot or you have a little, you have something. And if someone is in need around you, that is our call to love on one another. And I'm very, very passionate about that. And I don't just speak on that, I do that. And I just feel like the world would be so, there would be less people on drugs because people would be listening to each other, because people would be cared for. They would feel like they matter. And then I feel like the gospel would land on ears that were open instead of closed off, because people are mistreated and they're just disregarded and you know, all those things. I feel like that is a tragedy of our world right now. And so anyway, so I was talking to someone who does not, as much as I don't, or probably almost neck and neck, has no money. And they sent me the little bit that they had, so I called Mick and said, can I Uber to Walmart? Please, let me go get a rotisserie chicken. So this lady picks me up. She flies in the parking lot. When I get in the car, she goes, I was working out. You know, I didn't even know I had a ride. I'm sweaty. And I'm like, girl, you look like you paid money to put that glow stuff on your skin. I'm like, you don't need to stink. Don't worry about it. I was like, you're good. You're golden with me. So we go up to Walmart, and I tell her, I'm like, it's round trip. I'm just going to run in here and get rotisserie chicken and a bell pepper. And you just stay right here, and I'll be right back. So I go in, there's no rotisserie chickens. So I found somebody. I'm like, I need a rotisserie chicken, man. Like, who's rotisserie chicken plug, please? And they're like, we got any chilled? They're back over there. So I go over there, and there's not any. So I end up getting a salad and the 3-pack of bell peppers or whatever. And I come back out to the car, and she's like, are we ready to go? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, you get it? And I'm like, no. I'm like, I don't even know what kind of joint this is. I feel like they tricked me. I came here on Saturday, and they were on clearance, and I can't find me a rotisserie chicken to save my life. And so she's like, kind of kidding. She's like, I have almost a hole in my refrigerator. And I'm like, she's like, if you want it. And I'm like, I kind of do want it. I would love that rotisserie chicken, honestly. And she's like, well, okay. She's like, I got some tortillas, and I got some cheese and some sour cream and some other things. Well, I start crying because I know what I've been talking to God about all day. I know that I was hungry. That lady got me a sandwich. I know all that. Nobody else knows that, but me and God know that. So I start crying in the back seat, and I'm like trying to hide it, you know. And she's so beboppy and all the things that she doesn't even recognize for a minute. And I'm just like, thank you, God, you know. So she turns, she's talking to me, and she turns, and as she turns the road, she turns talking to me, and she's like, oh no, what's wrong with you? And I was like, nothing, I'm okay. And she goes, no, what is it? And I was like, God is just answering prayers through you. And I was like, thank you so much, you know. And so she goes, I knew I was supposed to take this ride for a reason. And she's like, I was naked. She's like, I'd been working out. And she was like, they changed the whole layout of Uber today. She said, I was going in there just to cash out my money. And she said, I was naked. I just exercised, covered in sweat, going to get in the shower. And it pops up and says, I got 4 minutes to be here. And she's like, I thought I was clocked out. And she's like, so if I would have said no, it would have went against my rating. So I just threw this on, jumped in the car, and sped over here. And she's like, this is not an accident. So I'm just like, I know. You know, it's God moving mountains. It's God, if the people he calls and we're just not obedient just off the basis of the word to help one another, he'll move the unbelieving. He'll move strangers. He'll realign apps so people think they're cashing out and come pick me up because they're willing to give me their chicken. You know what I'm saying? And so she goes and gets the chicken. She asks me to wait downstairs, so I do. And when she pulls back up, I keep forgetting this part, but earlier in the day, after I had the sandwich, I'd poured the rest of my dog's dog food in the bowl. I never spoke on that. I just said, Jesus, make a way, because, like, Cooper's gonna be hungry, you know? And so she pulls back up with a chicken, and I go to get the bags out of the car, and I'm like, you have no idea how much this means to me. Thank you so much. And she goes, do you have dog food? And I said, why would you ask me that right now? And she goes, do you? And then she said, go put that stuff up, come back down, we're going back to Walmart. So we go back to Walmart. She goes, get whatever you need. So I get dog food and I get creamer, and she had brought me like 3 bags of groceries from her house. So, you know, I wasn't trying to push it. I was so grateful. And I knew, you know, it just reconfirmation from God that my hand is on this. You won't be hungry. My word does not come back void. It says I will provide for you. Your faith has to be, and your security has to be in God. And you can't be lazy. You can't sit around and sit in a room and God's just going to give you this. Like, that's not how that works. He calls us all through the Bible also. Proverbs talks extensively about being prudent, about not being sluggard, about making excuses to not do anything. But when you are actively pursuing, trying to work, serving or doing whatever you can in all the ways the Bible commands us, I feel like there's a good possibility that there is something else going on. It's not, I don't just sit here and not fill out applications. I've really been like aggravating McDonald's across the street because I need a job, and I saw a little thing on their window that said you get paid at the end of the day. So I'm guessing that's still true. So that helps because my hotel room I have till tomorrow. You know what I mean? And so there's a reason that from transmission shops to tractor dealers to hotels to McDonald's, they all need help, but there's not a way, but yet I still have a room and I still have food. That's God. So I get the creamer, I get the coffee, I get the dog food. She goes, that's not enough. What else do you need? You need feminine products. You need shampoo. What do you need? And I'm like, I have shampoo. I have tampons. You know what I mean? Like, this is enough. This is more than enough. And so then she starts grabbing paper towels. You want, oh, no, paper towels, whatever. And so I got the paper towels, and I think I got some bread and some peanut butter maybe. Anyways, and so she goes, here's my number. Tomorrow when you remember what else you need, call me. And so I have tried to call her to get a ride to Walmart. I haven't reached her again, but like, to me that's true God passion as well, because maybe she was an angel, you know? Like, when people ask me for things, like the Bible says, don't tell people to come back when you have it now. So I work on a basis of, I just assume that is somebody's blessing or a test to keep my heart humble. Because people just get too big for their britches. They forget why they are here, what they are doing. Their pockets start getting bigger. They start getting any kind of status. And the heart of the matter just gets lost on them, just goes right out the window. God begins to bless a lot of people, and they forget where they came from and who got them where. I think that's been a lot of the process of my journey, is that God hasn't let me go without. But at the same time, on the other side of this, no one will be able to say anybody but God did it. It wasn't me. I didn't have one contributor. I've gone from Birmingham to Pensacola to Fairhope to Foley to Searcy, Arkansas to Tulsa, Oklahoma. That is God. So I don't know. That is up to date till today. I don't know. Today is July 5th. I don't know still what my purpose here is, but that is up to date right smack up until right now. So I hope that encourages somebody that It doesn't matter where you're at. It doesn't matter what kind of dysfunctional place or relationship or addiction or neglect or anything that you are in. God will meet you there. He will clean you up. You don't have to be clean before you get there. I saw this, the church that I went to, the preacher that had come to Waterfront, they had kind of this catchphrase, I don't know, and it says, he was doing a sermon that I had recorded because I didn't know how much like church I would have, and I was scared to death of like being so new and getting misdirected, and so I recorded those sermons and I would replay them and replay them and replay them, and they were on the armor of God. But I remember in one of the first ones, he goes, bring God your problems. God loves people with problems. And I thought that was hilarious, but it's true. It's very true. A lot of the righteous people, I think if you ever think that you're righteous enough and you have nothing else to fix, I think that's your problem right there. We will never measure up, but the love and grace of God is abundant. He just wants to love us. We have to obey. How can you intimately know him and be deep in any kind of commitment with him or hear his voice, and you just want to go see him once a week, maybe at the church you go to, open an app for 5 minutes because you can't make the time, but you can make time to watch TikTok videos. You can make time to drive and eat dinner with your friend or scroll before bed. It's sad that our priorities are like that, and the devil really gets in that way. Yeah, it's dramatically. Even when I don't have anything, I have all my same joy and my comfort because I just want to be where Jesus is. I love you guys.